Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my breakout players for the 2023 fantasy football season. Inside today's video, I'll be going in depth into 3 players who I believe are going to have their breakout season for the 2023 fantasy football season. But before we can get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my breakout players for the 2023 fantasy football season. Now, this video is being recorded in February. The combine hasn't happened yet. The NFL draft hasn't happened. Free agency hasn't happened yet. So obviously the ADPs of the players that we are going to be talking about in today's video is going to change from now all the way up until late August or early September when you do your draft. This video is in order of draft position. The first player we are going to be talking about in today's video is Breece Hall, being drafted the earliest based upon current underdog fantasy ADP. Breece Hall, running back of the New York Jets, ADP pick 25.3 off the board right now, running back number 8. And honestly, as I believe we get closer and closer to the kickoff of the 2023 NFL season, people are going to be more and more confident in Breece Hall, assuming that the medicals are all good, right? Because he tore his ACL in week 7 of last season. It's not the 1980s, right? It's 2023. Modern medicine is amazing. Tearing your ACL in week 7 should have very little impact on Breece Hall's 2023 NFL season, and that is why I'm very confident in him. And to be honest with you, I'm shocked that right now in a 12-team league on Underdog Fantasy, Breece Hall is coming off the board, not in the second round, in the third round, and I really think that's because of concerns of the injury. People always kind of panic early on when it comes to injuries, and then by August, poof, like fairy dust, it's out of their head. They forget about it, and then Breece Hall is this super hot commodity of a player that people want, right? Running back number 42 on the season in half PPR. Running back number 7 in half PPR points per game. Last year, the reason why we make the distinction between finish on the season and points per game is because of guys like Breece Hall, right? He only plays in 7 games on the season. If he played all year, probably would have been a top 10 back because he only played 7 games, finishes as the RB42. He had 80 carries, which is 11.4 per game, ranking 52nd at running back, 463 rushing yards, 66.1 per game, 44th, 32 targets, 4.6 per game, 40th, 19 receptions, 2.7 per game, 49th, 218 receiving yards, 31.1 per game, 27th, and 5 total touchdowns, 31st. Now, it's not like Breece Hall is going to be a guy that sees 100 plus targets in any given season, right? He's not Austin Eckler. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He's not Alvin Kamara before, what happened with Alvin Kamara last year where he kind of shit the bed. But, right, he's not one of those pass-catching running backs. But could he see 80 targets, 85 targets, 90 targets? Yes. And he's damn good when he catches passes. The O-line for the Jets was beaten and battered last season. In my opinion, the Jets actually have one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League when healthy. The problem last year is they were the complete and utter opposite of that. They were completely fucking banged up very early on in the season. And to be honest, that's kind of been a trend with the Jets over the last 2 years. The O-line just getting hurt very early on in the season. This was also a Jets team with quarterback controversy, a quarterback roller coaster. It was bad. It was really bad. Zach Wilson, Magic Mike White, Joe Flacco. It was brutal. But when you look past all of the kind of shit that was happening around Breece Hall, you can dive deep Michael Phelps style and find an elite running back in terms of efficiency stats. 5.3 true yards per carry, third at running back. 6.9, very nice, I like, yards per touch. Numero uno, number 1 at running back. 4.32 yards created per touch, third. 11.3% breakaway run rate, which is the percentage of carries of 15 or more yards. Second highest percentile of breakaway run rates in the National Football League at the running back position. 29.6% dominator rating, which is a running back's percentage of total team yards and team touchdowns generated on offense, 7th at running back. This man was dominant. He was efficient. He was amazing. Doing all of this, putting up these fantastic elite numbers, averaging 6.9 defenders in the box. 6th at running back. So while the defense is loading the box because they know Zach Wilson sucks donkey hog at being an NFL quarterback, it doesn't fucking matter because they load the box and Breece Hall's still running a train on you. Still running a train. So now think, predict, rub the crystal ball. 2023, they're going to have a new quarterback. Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, they draft one. Who cares? Anything's better than Zach Wilson. So Breece Hall, 2023, Zonovan Knight will be behind him. I am in love with Breece Hall in 2023, and he probably would have broke out last year, wouldn't have even been a part of it, wouldn't even have fit the category for me if he played all the games last year. But he didn't, so get to sneak him in there. At number 2, we got my guy Drake London, ADP pick 32.5, wide receiver 27 off the board of the Atlanta Falcons. If you guys are new to Underdog Fantasy, you want to get some drafts in early because I like doing drafts early. It makes the offseason fun, right? I know if you're sitting here, you're like, oh, August is so far away. Early September when I do my draft. Or my draft so far away. We can get in right now on Underdog Fantasy. Click on the link in the video description. You get a $100 first match deposit bonus of up to $100. So you deposit $100, you get an additional $100. I've been doing the big board drafts, $10 to enter on there. I believe it is $200,000 to first place. So something to take advantage of now before they close. So Drake London, wide receiver of the Atlanta Falcons, wide receiver 35.5 PPR in the season, wide receiver 47.5 PPR points per game. I know that doesn't sound great, but when you look back at Drake London's season, you know why he wasn't the best, but 117 targets, 6.9 per game. Very nice. I like. Number 22 wide receiver. 72 receptions, 4.2 per game, 26th. 866 receiving yards, 50.9 per game, 28th. And 4 total touchdowns, 37th. Drake London had to deal with Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder at quarterback last year. My assumption, and you know what they say about assumptions? Sometimes they make an ass out of you and me. But ultimately, my assumption right now is that this team drafts a quarterback or brings in a quarterback because there is no way, based upon what we saw Desmond Ridder do last season, that he is even worth dabbling upon the fact that this guy's the starting quarterback. Now, could he be a backup that develops over the years? And it's like, hey, you know what? Desmond Ridder's a great backup in the National Football League. Definitely. I could see that happening based upon what he did in college. But I don't think, based upon what we saw last year, anyone in their right mind would be banging the drum for Desmond Ridder, especially with their coach, Arthur Smith, in my opinion, being on the hot seat. I would have to think, right? That offense was a steaming pile of shit. And the problem with Drake London is that Arthur Smith last year, when this team is getting pummeled, when they're getting beaten down, dicked down on a Thursday night or Sunday night or Sunday during the day, they didn't really have that many night games, they're running the ball. They're getting smacked, they're getting battered, they're getting embarrassed, they're getting metaphorically teabagged by the other team, and they run the ball late. And that's what made some like Tyler Algier so fun for fantasy last year. This team, though, has 2 key weapons. They got Kyle Pitts, and they have Drake London. Could they bring in another wide receiver? Of course. Of course. But unless they draft someone at pick number 8, they're not finding a wide receiver that's better than Drake London. So Drake London going into the season, in my opinion, is the clear alpha number 1 guy on the team, the number 1 receiver in terms of targets on this team. I believe strongly in the talent and the skill set of Drake London. Now, you might be thinking, Nick, where are these efficiency stats? You just kind of gave Breece Hall the gawk 9,000 with some efficiency stats. The efficiency stats don't look great for Drake London. I'm keeping it a buck with you. They don't look great. But I think a lot of that is because the quarterback situation, the team in Atlanta, was bad. I don't think they could be as bad as last year. Division's a disaster yet again. That NFC South, snooze fest. I have to think they bring in a new quarterback. I have to think things are better for Drake London, and I think this year he smashes over 1,000 receiving yards. Final player to discuss in today's video. Now, this is a player that I was pondering on. I was thinking about, I was sitting in my bed thinking, who should I talk about? I know I want to talk about Breece Hall. That's a lock. It's easy to see him smashing Drake London. He's a talented player. The situation a little gloomy in Atlanta, but I love Drake London, the player. I think he gets it done, even if they don't make this drastic change at quarterback, which I believe they will. Now, this guy, his name is Isiah Pacheco. Now, when it came to Isiah Pacheco, the reason why I was thinking about him and kind of was pondering, do I want to talk about him or not, is because of the situation he's in. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs are an elite offense, probably the best offense in the National Football League. So obviously, he's in a good situation. But when I say situation, I mean, what is the running back core going to look like next year for the Chiefs? Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire not getting that fifth-year option. He's probably out of there, cut. Looking back, it's like, why didn't they just draft Jonathan Taylor? Imagine the Chiefs with Jonathan Taylor. That would be crazy. But they got Pacheco last year, right? Pick 73.5 on Underdog Fantasy, RB 23. Jerick McKinnon is a UFA, unrestricted free agent. And if he does not return, I think that means Pacheco gets more targets. But my worry isn't necessarily McKinnon, because if McKinnon comes back, it is what it is, right? You can say, hey, Pacheco could still have a really good year, even with a guy like McKinnon there catching passes, right? My worry is that they draft a running back. This running back class isn't amazing, but like if they draft another running back, you could see a real 50-50 split share, two-headed dragon type of deal where you draft Pacheco, you like Pacheco better, you've seen it, the guy runs hard, but like, do you want to draft him at this pick? He'd probably barrel down the draft board, right? If they draft a running back that has a semblance of skill. Now, if they draft like a 7th round running back, you're probably not panicking in a big way, but you know, they're going to probably draft a running back. But what I'm saying is if they draft like a running back in the 3rd or 4th round, the middle rounds of the draft, then you're probably like that Kevin Hart meme, you know what I'm talking about? Everyone kind of knows there's a meme going around Twitter where his hands are up. Then you start to panic a little bit, right? Running back 35.5 PPR last season, tied with Donta Foreman. Running back 46.5 PPR points per game. Funny enough, also tied with Donta Foreman. Played in 17 games, starting 11 games in 2022, having 170 carries, 10 per game, number 33 at running back. Again, you have to kind of remember that this wasn't just the Pacheco backfield all year long, kind of like towards the end of the season, halfway point through the season. Early on, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's playing quite well. So this wasn't just the Pacheco backfield all year long. Like, if you're just thinking about things like, oh, the playoffs, you remember the playoffs where we had Pacheco have multiple good games, right? In the Super Bowl, 76 rushing yards on 15 attempts, a touchdown. Week 2 of the playoffs, which the second game when they play up against the Jags, 12 carries, 95 yards, 1 reception, 6 receiving yards, right? We saw multiple good games out of Pacheco. And if you kind of don't remember early on in the season, which I get, you can forget, right? The fucking season's long. It wasn't just the Pacheco backfield. He had 830 rushing yards, 48.8 per game, ranking 24th at running back, 14 targets, 0.8 per game, 69th at running back. Very nice, I like. 14 targets, 13 receptions, 130 receiving yards, 5 total touchdowns, 31st at running back. So pretty solid season for a rookie out of Rutgers that no one expected to be all that great. Some interesting efficiency stats, 4.8 true yards per carry, 10th at running back, 5.2 yards per touch, 16th at running back. So a very solid season, all things considered, for Isiah Pacheco. Again, I am worried about what is happening around Pacheco. Regardless of who the wide receivers end up being for Patrick Mahomes' offense, I don't really give a shit, right? I could be running out there as a fucking wide receiver and they'd still be dominant. It doesn't matter at all. Mahomes is that good. All I care about is the running back room that he is in. If this looks like, oh, they bring in X running back, they draft X running back, then maybe I start to panic. That's why this is an early list. That's why when I'm talking about fantasy football in February, you don't write this down, etch it in stone, and say this is a mortal lock for what's going to happen in 2023 fantasy football, because it is that early. But it's an interesting way to look at things early on. If you want to draft early on, I'm a little bit nimble on drafting Pacheco. I don't even think that's the correct word, but I'm a little bit cautious when it comes to drafting Pacheco. I'm not saying to fade Pacheco. I'm drafting Pacheco. I'm happy to draft him, but I understand when I make that selection that I'm not etching in stone that Isiah Pacheco is guaranteed to be that guy for the Chiefs in 2023. So let me know down below in the comment section what you guys thought about today's video. Do you agree with these running backs? Do you think these are all breakout candidates? Do you think, hey, maybe Breece Hall, the injury, you're a doctor, you know, you're not fucking Johnny Sins like me, not a doctor. You think Breece Hall's fucked? Let me know. But I enjoy talking to you guys in the comment section. I love you guys all so much. I generally hope you all have a great rest of your guys' day. I'm super pumped for the Combine coming up soon, the NFL Draft. It sucks as a Dolphins fan. You can't even see it. I got the Dolphins logo right here. Been Dolphins fan my whole life. We tampered with Tom Brady, so we don't get a first-round pick. Sucks as a fan. I love the NFL Draft. Still gonna love the NFL Draft regardless. But I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys all so much. From deep down the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for everything. We're gonna have a huge season. I love you guys all. Again, hope you guys all have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.